I'm like Sarah, Martha.
Okay.
I'm making a face.
Yeah, she's not looking too
Are
good.
you gonna cry?
You're not looking
I'm
so
not
hot.
quite crying. I'm shutting my.
You look better there.
had
Look
a
a little
feeling
more
I'd
towards
have
the
a
front where
cry
when the
until
light
she's well
hits
in
you,
her
it's a
20s.
little nicer. Okay, so let's start talking about Muskoka. Tell me about the very first memory you have of Muskoka.
Arriving in a Tin Lizzie Ford with Mr. Cronin when I was 5 years old would be one of the memories. After pneumonia.
Ask her why she didn't take the train.
And they cut all my hair off when they operated on me. I don't know why.
And you should have seen the roads in those days.
What did they operate on
They
you
were
for?
Mud roads.
Emphysema,
Now known as PO
pleurisy
something. Pleurisy.
in a left lung.
Okay. They operated on you
On the checkerboard dining room table of Granny's
in Dixie.
in
The
Dixie.
table that Bridgie has?
Yeah.
Great. Did anyone have any children on that table?
It's called the operating
They
table.
had their tonsils out.
Yeah, it's sort of like Cheaper by the Dozen. Great book, great movie.
What do I hear?
A truck. Okay, so Mr. Cronin was who?
He
Whom?
lived out near Humphrey Post Office out the road. And he must have been told to pick us up at the train, I guess.
So where would the train have
Or, you know,
ended?
where the stagecoach came from.
Well, you're going to have
What's
to
the name
explain
of that
us.
road? You
Tally Ho.
Tally Ho Road. We
Driving
probably
in
went up
Toronto
there.
is pretty miserable, isn't it?
We didn't go by boat, I don't think.
So, Mom, explain to me, how did you get...
Brendan came with us,
We
I
could have been in
think,
Florida already.
because Granny had to have at least one boy, you know, with us so that he could do the stuff that had to be done, because the cottage didn't have any more, what do you call it, facilities.
Okay, which cottage are we speaking of?
Port Colborne, Kenora.
Kincora.
Kincora. We had been cut off from the hotel on account of the fire.
So the hotel was already burned down.
Yes, and we didn't have plumbing, or I guess we had plumbing, I can't remember.
And what time of the year did you go up?
May.
Do you remember, like, the beginning of May, or?
I was going to be 5, or I was 5 going to be 6. It'd be 1920.
Okay,
But
and
you
that's
would
your
have been
first
there when
memory.
you were a little baby too, but you just don't remember.
Oh yeah, every year.
Yeah.
I remember Miley cutting the head off a chicken and the chicken ran away.
Yeah, they're amazing.
And I remember we had a refrigerator, or ice box we called them, out in the back porch. We lifted the lid from the top to put the ice in.
That's
And
right.
I cut my elbow and I still have a scar on it.
Is that right?
Here's someplace from the piece of ice that cut me,
There we go.
because I was leaning down
Okay,
into the...
we just looked at it.
Zoom in on
We
the cut.
zoomed in on the scar.
And so Edward and I, we used to do a lot of things like I imagine Bridget did when she was growing up.
Oh, I hope not quite as
We
bad.
brought a
Not-
bottle
not-
out of the suitcase that my father hid them in, and brought it out onto the porch when Mr. Hamer,
that's
Mr.
funny.
Fraser, and my father were sitting chatting.
Like he had a hidden bottle of liquor and you carried it out to the porch.
Oh yeah, to see if they were going to use it or take, I don't know. We did a lot of and we put moss all over Mr. Harker's front door steps for them to walk in. I'm thinking it would be nice and soft for them.
And it probably was.
We must have spent all day doing things like that.
Dead mom?
And then I particularly remember when the older members arrived at a later date from May.
Because the older kids had to go
They
to
were
school.
heading out to get the mail. And I thought I should be heading out to get the mail too. So I was on top of the stile.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard of a
Yes.
stile.
It's in the nursery rhymes.
Yeah. And they wouldn't take me. And my mother, I screamed and cried like Sarah. And they left me behind because they knew I wasn't strong enough to walk out the road. Probably.
And where did they get the mail?
Humphrey Post Office.
And where was that
About
located?
a mile and something out the road. Mrs. What was her name? Mrs. Wilson ran the post office.
Okay.
And we used to go looking for the cows around 4 o'clock in the afternoon in the bush because their bells were ringing. You know, they all had a bell around their neck.
Right. Do you remember bringing your own cow up to the cottage?
Oh, yes, I remember seeing it.
But
Yes.
do you remember how like they got it up there
I think
or
we might
anything?
have had a pony or a horse up there, too.
Well, there's pictures of your grandmother on a horse up there.
I think we might have had a horse up there. I'm not sure.
Now, how many bedrooms were in Kincora?
I think it was basically sort of like Tent City. It was, you went in a main hall, and there was 2, I think, on each side.
Mm-hmm.
But then, I can tell you another story. That summer, my mother decided, because of the hotel being gone, that they were going to floor in the attic.
Okay.
And so there was these men working up on the top floor. And we were sitting by a big round table with a gas lamp or something, I don't know. And one of their feet came through right down on top of us with all the sawdust. We had to clean all that up. But we were making efforts before the fight with the Frasers to make it habitable.
Right.
But I remember that.
Okay, so what year was it when you stopped going to Kincora and went somewhere else?
We went home to Dixie. Because if it was 1920 when I was 5,
Right.
when I was 6 and 7,
Is it behind us, Martha?
Front of me.
this is ridiculous.
Why I didn't move.
Oh, look at the ambulance. It's going to
That's
come
why
right.
Martha didn't move out.
Martha, you did a great job there.
Where's he going?
To a hospital, I would
I knew I
suspect.
wasn't
You
gonna-
must have somebody really.
Can you imagine how bad it would be to get through this? So, Mom, when did you? What was
Okay, I
the?
was telling you, I was
Okay.
6 and 7,
Yeah.
and we didn't, I think, go anywhere. We used to go with the Walsh's ponies down to Lake Ontario to swim down the road.
For 2 years.
And then, nothing much happened, but in 2 years, George was born.
Yes.
And we used to, the first year he was born, we went into Sunnyside because the pool was open.
Okay, so just for the sake of the person watching this film, George is your brother, and what year was he born?
22.
Okay,
So Mommy was
19.
7.
1922,
March
and you were
27th,
7.
And then we were all ready, and Eileen took us in on in the morning on the way to work and dropped us off at Sunnyside Pool.
For the day.
Edward,
Wow.
myself, Betty, Lorene, and Granny, and the baby, and the baby's bottles.
Wow.
So we spent the day there. After we swam in the morning, Betty took swimming lessons, and Lorene probably, and Edward and I, we got enough money to buy 2 coffee and 2 tea, and I think they were shared around while we were on the beach. And then we went over to the amusement park, and I think we probably rode on a couple of things. And then Eileen picked us up.
And did you have like a picnic basket of food for
I'm
the day?
sure we did. Yeah.
Boy, Granny was a tough nut.
That was a lot to do.
Every day she took George with her.
Mom,
and
I
us.
read books about that time when Sunnyside Park was there, and sometimes people drowned there was undertow in Lake Ontario. Did you swim right in the lake?
Well, we had the swimming teacher was there all morning. I
Okay.
don't know about the afternoon.
Did you ever hear that there could be bad waves with undertow?
Well, I tell you, Lake Ontario was so cold
Yeah.
that you wouldn't want to put a toe into it.
Oh, we took swimming lessons there.
Boy.
Do you know if Glencairn goes to Caledonia?
It goes to Dufferin,
I know it goes to Dufferin. I
but
wonder.
Caledonia is good enough. Caledonia does have. I would go down. Are you going to go south on it?
I was thinking.
I would.
Of going,
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
Go south.
If I can get to Glencairn,
Yep,
that'll take
you can
us
go right
to
across.
Avenue Road.
Yeah. Or we can get on something, Martha. Castlefield goes across. That's the worst case scenario.
Because,
It's a good